Sarah Strong was visiting with her mother. As they sat and talked, her mother steered the conversation around to Sarah's husband, Mark. "Where is Mark? I thought he'd be here. He's busy. I asked him to clean the bathrooms, and you know he's a perfectionist when it comes to cleaning. I figured as much. It looks like you wear the pants in your family. Mark is so good to me. I know he isn't the athlete you think I should have married, but he makes up for it in other ways. I just think you could have married a more masculine man. He's about as masculine as a lace doily. You know you wear the pants here, so what should he be wearing? He's masculine enough for me. Because he's soft and cuddly doesn't mean he isn't masculine. He takes good care of me, and that is what's important to me. He doesn't have to be sports-minded or a weightlifter to show me he loves me. He is a secretary, for God's sake. A secretary to a woman. Most secretaries wear dresses, don't they? He might as well be wearing a dress for his job and for what he does around here. He does the cooking and cleaning, doesn't he? He does the cleaning because I don't care to, and he is an excellent cook. That doesn't mean he should be wearing a dress. Look at the great chefs. They are just about all men. As far as the cleaning goes, because he's good at it doesn't mean he belongs in a dress. I don't care what you say. If I had my way, he would be wearing dresses. You say he's soft and cuddly? Then he should be in a dress. Sarah saw she was losing the argument, so she steered the conversation in a different direction. Mark entered the room and told Sarah he had finished the bathrooms. He was still wearing the pink rubber gloves he wore when he was cleaning with chemicals. See, he's wearing those pretty pink gloves. He should be wearing something to go with them. Pink is for women, not men. That don't even deserve an answer. His mother-in-law saw him blush when she made the remark about pink being for women. Later, when he asked what that remark was all about, Sarah dismissed it as her mother's fantasy. She did, however, imagine what he would look like in a dress. 2 weeks later, he came home and said his boss was being let go in a downsizing move. He said with no boss there was no job for him. He said next week was his last week. He told her they were going to pay him his salary for the next 5 weeks as a separation package. Sarah told him they really didn't need his income and he shouldn't worry about anything. He felt glad she was taking it so calmly. His last 2 days, his boss was gone, so he used his time making phone calls to any place he thought might have a job for him. He had no luck, as all of them said they too were looking for places to cut their help. His first 2 days at home, he cleaned the house real well. Sarah noticed how nice the house looked and told him he did a super job. The 3rd day dragged for him and he was bored. He couldn't even find anything on the television to occupy his mind. He took an afternoon nap, but it only lasted 20 minutes. That night he told Sarah how long the day was and how he wished he could find a job. He said any job would be all right. After supper, Sarah was talking to her mother, and when she told her how he wanted a job so badly, her mother said she had a couple of projects he could do. Sarah said he'd be there at 8 tomorrow morning. When Sarah told him about the job, he said he knew her mother didn't like him, but he agreed to see what he could do. The next morning, Sarah dropped him off at her mother's house. Her mother told him today she wanted to move some furniture around and rearrange the living room and the Four Seasons room. He started by removing the lamps and articles on the end tables and coffee table into the next room. Then Sarah's mother had him move the easy chair over by the door to get it out of the way. He wrestled it to where she wanted it. It took all of his strength, but he got it there. He opened up an area against one wall where she said she wanted the sofa. Then when he tried to move the sofa, he couldn't. Finally, Sarah's mother came and lifted one end with ease, saying she knew he was a weakling. It took some time, but they got it in place. He got the end tables in place, and she then told him to put the coffee table in front of the sofa. It took all of his strength to get it in place, but he did. When it was almost lunchtime, Sarah's mother told him to make some lunch, some toasted ham and cheese and some soup. He found the makings and soon it was ready. She told him he did a good job on lunch and he felt maybe she was changing her attitude toward him. Then she saw a grease spot on his shirt and said that he should have worn an apron. He said it would wash out, but she said she wanted him to wear one of the aprons hanging on the back of the pantry door when he was cooking from now on. He had to clean up after lunch, then it was back to the living room. It took some time, but it was done when Sarah was due to show up. When she came in, she commented on how nice the room looked. At home, he said maybe her mother wasn't as bad as she seemed sometimes. Sarah was glad the two of them were getting along better now. The next day they tackled the Four Seasons room. Mark had trouble with many of the heavy items he was supposed to move. There were 5 very heavy pieces to move, and 2 of them it took both of them to get moved where she wanted them. At lunch he made cube steak sandwiches with soup. He wore a full-length apron that completely covered his clothes except for his sleeves. Sarah's mother spotted a grease mark on his sleeve. She had to mention it. By the time Sarah picked him up, the room looked completely different from before. Her mother told her she could use him tomorrow to help clean. The next day he started cleaning the main bathroom. When Sarah's mother saw several spots on his shirt, she said he had to change into something old to save his clothes. She gave him a plain white blouse and a pair of black slacks she said was old, good enough for cleaning. He changed into them to avoid an argument. Sarah's mother let him change back just before Sarah was about to arrive. That night he told her about her mother having him change clothes to clean. Sarah passed it off as her mother's idiosyncrasy and told him to let her mother have her way. He said he didn't know if he could take much more of her mother. She told him he better do as she says because she's going to pay him for his help. The next morning Sarah's mother asked him if he could make some finger food for a bridge party she was hosting this afternoon. He said he could, that it would not be a problem. She told him to follow her, and he followed her into the bedroom next to hers, and when she opened the closet and took out a dress, he said he wasn't going to wear that. "Oh, yes you are. If you don't like this dress, then I can get you a maid's uniform. You are doing the job of a maid, are you not? I am just making you look like the job you are doing. Now, let's get this on you. I want to go home right now." He couldn't believe it, but she grabbed his arm and was pinching it to the point it hurt quite a bit. He still refused to wear the dress. She swung his arm behind his back in a hammer lock and told him she would break it if he didn't agree to put it on. He still refused, and she pushed up on his arm harder. He started to get tears in his eyes and finally agreed to put it on. She released him and told him to strip. She went to the dresser and got some things out. He took his shirt and slacks off with his back to her, and was in his undershorts when she told him to get them off also. "If you hadn't argued with me, it would just have been the dress, but now you're going to wear everything." Soon he found himself in panties, a stuffed padded bra, slip, nylons and the dress. She produced a pair of 2-inch heels and then led him into the bathroom where she applied lipstick to his lips. Then she unzipped a case on the counter and took out a long black wig which she put on his head. "There, now you look like you should. Don't forget to put on your apron before you start cooking. Don't worry, you look just delightful." He looked in the mirror and couldn't believe he had allowed himself to be dressed like this. He was mortified. But he did head for the kitchen, and put on the apron and started cooking. He was taking the 3rd batch of stuff out of the oven when she came over to him. She tasted the 3 things he had made and said they were delicious. She told him to make some lunch for them and he did it. She noticed he was much more passive now. After he had cleaned up from lunch, she told him to follow her. She took him to the bedroom and had him change into a 1-piece black dress trimmed with white lace. Then she slid a multi-layered petticoat up under the short skirt. When she tied the small lacy apron around him, he realized this was a maid's outfit. "My guests will be arriving soon. You will answer the door and let them in. Then you will serve them the treats you made this morning. Do you understand?" "I can't do that." "How will it look?" "You will do that. If you don't, I will let them all know you are my sissy son-in-law." "Do you want me to do that?" "No, I want to go home right now. You are going to do as I said or you will regret it. Now, I want to see a smile on your face as you do as you are told, or I will take drastic action. Are you going to do it? I guess I'll do it, he said with the sound of defeat in his voice. She led him into the bathroom where she sprayed him liberally with perfume, telling him he now smelled the way he should smell all the time. She told him to give her a curtsy and he shot her a dirty look but did it. It wasn't perfect but was passable. She told him he should go a little deeper. He did and she approved. A curtsy shows respect for those above your station in life. I expect you to curtsy to all of my guests whoever they are. Do you understand? He nodded that he did, and she was all smiles. She let him go into the kitchen. He wasn't there 5 minutes when the doorbell rang. He answered it and curtsied to the 2 ladies standing there. They came in and the first thing they asked is when she got a maid. He heard her tell them she just hired one. The next lady arrived and he recognized her right away as the town's leading socialite. When she asked about him, he heard her say she just figured she could use a maid. The socialite asked if she could borrow her for some of her parties, and he was aghast when he heard that it was entirely possible that could be arranged. The women started their bridge game and he was serving them, curtsying often. It wasn't going so bad for him. He was surprised that none of them saw him as a man. He was serving the last of the treats just as the game was ending, and he was then told to make a big pot of tea, which he did. The women sat and just talked. Soon they were leaving. They left and he was cleaning up the mess when he was told to heat up the leftover tea and serve it in the dining room, with 2 cups and the sugar and creamed on a tray. He wondered about the 2 cups, then decided she was going to have a cup with him. He had lost all sense of time, and was totally surprised to see Sarah sitting there when he entered the living room. Her mother said, "I took the liberty to change Mark's style a bit. This is how he should be dressed all the time. Now, greet my guests like I told you." He curtsied to his wife and said, "Hello, Sarah. That isn't how you greet a guest in my house. Sarah doesn't live here anymore, so you will greet her as Miss Sarah or Mrs. Strong. Now do it properly." "Hello, Mrs. Strong," he said, feeling humiliated to have to curtsy to his wife. He was especially humiliated having her see him like this. He was also shocked when he heard her mother tell her she was sending some dresses home with them for him to wear when he came to work. He was more shocked when Sarah said he looked cute in his uniform. She said his blushing showed he should be wearing blush, so he'd have that look all the time. That made his stomach jump. Her mother excused herself and told him to come with her. She led him to the bedroom and selected 4 dresses for him to take home. She selected 1 dress for him to wear home. Then she told him to put the other dresses into the car. Sarah meanwhile just sat there. She felt disgusted that he would let her mother put him in a dress, and especially that he had curtsied to her. She could feel the anger building up in her. She knew he was stronger than that. She wanted to punish him. Both of them. He got the uniform off and put the dress on, wondering why he had to wear a dress home. That tempted him to look for the clothes he'd worn there that morning, but he couldn't find them. He put the dress on and soon had the other dresses in the car. They were on their way home when Sarah said, "I can't believe you let my mother put you in a dress, and a maid's uniform no less. She gave me some money to get you more clothes she said you needed. How could you let her put you in a dress? Your mother is strong and she was willing to break my arm if I didn't change clothes." I told her I wanted to go home right then, but she persisted and I had to agree to wear a dress. I lost all track of time and before I knew it you were there. I would have demanded she let me change back before you got there. I looked for the clothes I wore there this morning but I couldn't find them. I don't want to work for your mother any longer. Do you have another job to go to? I think not. You will continue to work for her as long as you don't have another job. How am I supposed to get one if I am always working for her? That is your problem, not mine. Now that I have seen you in a dress you might as well wear one. We are going to stop and get you some more things that you need. I expect you to cooperate and not get surly or obstinate. He felt sick as she pulled into a parking stall in front of a store called Everything Feminine. She told him to follow her, and he had never heard her speak to him in that voice before. It was a commanding voice. She led him inside and soon was talking to a saleslady. She said they needed some things for her sissy husband. The saleslady said they had everything they would need. The first thing she got was a pair of gel-filled breast forms. She had the saleslady glue them on his chest and then measure him for the clothes he was going to get. He was shocked when the next thing was a corset that had a sheath to bend his penis back. The saleslady had it on him and tight in minutes. He was taking short breaths when the saleslady came and tried a bra on him. Soon he was coming out of the dressing room in different dresses for Sarah to see how he looked in them. She picked every one of them most feminine. Then it was over to the jewelry counter, where his ears were pierced, and soon he was sporting 2 studs in each of his ears. He thought he was going to throw up but didn't. When Sarah picked out some dainty nightgowns for him, he knew she was going to carry on where her mother left off. He was shocked that she was doing this to him. They left the store and she said she still had money left from her mother to spend on him. He asked why she was doing this to him. She didn't answer him right away, then carefully worded her answer. "You allowed my mother to dress you in a dress. Every time I get a sniff of your perfume, it disgusts me that my husband would smell like that. You might as well reconcile yourself to the fact that you are going to wear dresses for some time. I had hoped you would stand up to my mother, but you allowed her to do whatever she wanted to you, so now you can stay that way." He didn't know what to say. He felt mortified that Sarah was taking this to this level. She parked in front of Adult Pleasures. Inside, she told him to look around to see if anything caught his eye. He was looking around and didn't see her pick up a 2-headed dildo. Then she saw a gold pin that read, "I am a male sissy." When she called him over by her and had him try on a pair of locking pumps with a 5-inch heel, he felt devastated. She said if he didn't act like a proper lady, she was going to get them and he would be wearing them until it was natural for him to be in them. He was happy when she put them back. They checked out and she pinned the pin on his chest. He was blushing when he read what it said. As she drove, she told him she still had some money left. He didn't think there was anything else she could get him, but he was wrong. She soon had him in a hair and nail place, getting false nails put on his fingernails. They were the longest ones available. When he left, he sported bright red nails that shone like crazy in the sunlight. At home, he had to put away the dresses from Sarah's mother. He felt he was going to be sick and could hardly breathe with the tight corset confining his body. He knew he had to do something but wasn't sure what. Finally, he got up the courage to speak to Sarah. He went and said they had to talk. Sarah said he didn't curtsy and that unless he curtsied, she wasn't going to talk to him. He curtsied. "I have to talk to you. Your mother planned this whole thing. Now I know you are looking at me differently. I can see why that would happen. I still love you, but your love for me has changed. I know your mother has worked on you about me, and a person can only take so much. First, let me say I am not going back to your mother's. You can do what you want, she is your mother. Secondly, I want out of these dresses. I don't care what your mother says or wants, but I am not going to continue wearing dresses. You can do what you have to do. I do not care anymore. If you can't go along with this, then maybe we weren't meant to be. I am sorry it has become this, but I have reached the end of the road. If I had noticed the time, I would have demanded your mother let me change back into my regular clothes before you got there, but that is water over the dam." They then sat without saying a word for the longest time. He was sure she was going to tell him it was over. She thought about what to give him for an answer. She had never seen him like this. Finally she said, "I still love you. I know Mother planned the whole thing. I just can't believe you went along with everything. As for not going back to Mother's, that isn't the answer. You have to go back and face her and convince her that you are all man. Not a physically strong kind of man, but all man in any case. Now, Tomorrow you are going to Mother's and you have to face her. I do believe we were meant to be, or I wouldn't have married you. I do not want to see us split. We can work our problems out together, and to hell with the rest of the world if that is what it takes. How does that sound? I think it makes sense, but I have no idea what to say to your mother. Do I have to wear a dress tomorrow? I think that would be wise. Wear it as if you enjoy wearing it, and show her that she isn't punishing or changing who you are inside. I think I can do that. I do like that red and blue patterned one. Maybe I can wear that one tomorrow. That's a good choice. I think that one is the most feminine, and you can wear the red heels with it. I hope you can bring Mom down a peg or two. She has been so dominant, she thinks she is the law about everything. You will have to watch what you say because she will grab any weakness and turn it on you. I know that. I have no idea what I am going to say, but I am definitely going to say something to her. Can I get out of this corset now? I can hardly breathe. Come on to the bedroom and we'll get you out of it. In the bedroom, she helped him get undressed. She convinced him to keep the panties on and to try on a nightgown. She chose a silk one with lots of trim. She could see the bulge in front of the gown as he stood there, and she asked him what he thought about wearing a nightgown. It is sure a different feeling. I kind of like it. It feels so light and comfortable. I am going to tell you that you can wear whatever you want. If it feels good, do it. I'm also telling you that if you want to wear a dress, it is all right with me. The next morning he dressed in the red and blue dress. When he looked in the mirror, he was satisfied with how he looked. It was Saturday and Sarah was off. Her mother had said she needed him to clean for a party she was holding that evening. Sarah dropped him off, telling him she would pick him up at 2. He dreaded facing her mother, but he was determined to call her bluff. When he entered, she told him he looked just darling. He thanked her and started cleaning the living room. Then he moved to the Four Seasons room. He was finishing up there when she told him to fix some lunch for them. He fixed a delicious lunch for the two of them. As he fixed it, he was forming what to say to her. Then when he was setting it on the table, he knew what he was going to say. I have something to say and I expect not to be interrupted as I say it. I think this is the last day I will be setting foot in this house. I cannot go on with this charade any longer. I love your daughter, but that doesn't give you any rights over me. Your daughter and I are happy with our marriage and we don't need your interference. Your impression of me doesn't mean anything any longer. I want you to give me back my men's clothes and allow Sarah and me to get on with our lives. You have taken advantage of both of us, and if you were any kind of a mother, you would not have done what you did to me. I feel sorry for you that this is the only way you can relate to me. I would like to think of you as a good person, but you have wiped that idea out of my head. I have always felt you didn't care for me, and you have proved it. I am not the athlete you wanted your daughter to marry, but I am giving her the love she deserves, and that is what is most important to me. Sarah's mother stopped eating and sat looking at him. He waited for the explosion and figured he was going to get a real tongue lashing. She didn't say anything for over 10 minutes, just taking small bites out of her sandwich. Then she said, "You are right. I did think you and my Sarah were mismatched. I did take advantage of both of you. I don't know why you allowed me to put a dress on you in the first place. I never thought about having any rights over you, but you are right, I do not have any rights over you, only those you allow me. I did want my Sarah to marry someone more masculine than you. You are soft and physically weak, but I now see you do love Sarah the way I had hoped. The fact that you said you are giving her the love she deserves shows me that maybe you are the right husband for her. You can change right after lunch. Please accept my apology for what I did to you. I thought you were a weakling, and now I see you are stronger in an area where it really counts. I am not totally sorry for putting you in a dress because it took that for me to get to know the real you. I can accept who you are and what you are if that is any consolation to you. You do know you look very pretty in that dress, don't you?" They both laughed and the tension between them was gone. They had finished eating by then, and when he stood up, Sarah's mother gave him a hug. He felt like the weight of the world was off of him. When Sarah came in to get him, she smiled when she saw him in his shirt and slacks. She was more surprised to hear her mother. "Sarah, I have to apologize to you. I interfered in your marriage and it wasn't right. I was wrong in assuming that Mark was a weakling. He has proved he is a man and should be treated as one. I now know he loves you the way I think a husband should love a wife, and I am glad you married him." "Thank you, Mother. I am glad I married him, and it did bother me how you saw him. I must admit that I did get carried away when we were shopping for dresses for him. I couldn't believe he would let you put him in a dress. You have to admit he does look nice in a dress, and he did an excellent job as my maid. But now I see he has strengths that I never realized, and I am glad the two of you are married to each other." They left, and as soon as they were in the car, Sarah wanted to know what he had said to her mother. He gave her a thumbnail version and she laughed. "I have never known my mother to apologize to anyone. You got her to apologize to both of us. I never thought I would see that day. You are great, and I want you to know I think you are going to make a great father." "What's this great father bit?" "I wanted you to be the first to know. I was at the doctor's today and you are going to be a father." The news was totally unexpected and he was in a blur. Finally he came out of it and told Sarah he loved her. Then he shocked her by saying, "Turn around. We have to tell your mother."